And if somebody just opened this up and went through the questions, I can use these questions to help me reframe my days, to help me reframe my years, my goals, my objectives.
Let's just have a conversation.
Okay.
Okay? Let's just have a conversation. I know this has been a week. How would you describe the week itself for you?
I think it's organized chaos. You know, it's one of those things where you have to be the centerpiece of all of the hype, all of the excitement, all of the getting the word out and the marketing and all that stuff. And, you know, I went to the Monday Night Football game with my dad and my son, and I never get Wi-Fi on the plane. But I ordered the Wi-Fi on the plane so I could individually text, 100+ people and send emails and post on social media. And for 3 hours straight from our flight, I just was on the phone. My neck hurt when I got off the plane because I was looking down so much. But I think it's been a culmination of a lot of things. Physically draining because you're genuinely working so much and so hard from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. And then mentally draining because you're putting yourself out there to the world. I mean, I always find this funny. I do videos all the time. You are in here doing them with me so often, and the team, and it's easy. I enjoy it. I love it. The book was not easy. The book wasn't, completely painless. It was a process. And then it's the written word, which is so permanent. I think I'm still old school enough that even though video is permanent, it's not the same as putting down a book and binding it and having it for the world to read. And you can't change anything that you write. You can build upon it, but it's a part of who you were when you wrote it. And a lot of times when it comes out, there's already things that you would adjust or change. And so, at least if you're an entrepreneur brain like mine. So it's been organized chaos because emotionally, physically, mentally, it's draining, but it's exciting. You're sharing a part of what you believe in with the world. And I think that's part of the reason I did it.
I'd love for you to tell me what it was like, how you got that into your hands. Like, was it on Amazon? Like, how did it come to you?
Yeah, I actually went to Monday Night Football and watched the Dallas Cowboys beat the Eagles live and had the greatest seats and a great experience, a peak moment of living a rich life. It was awesome. And we were up late, and it was midnight the day the book launches, and I ordered 3 copies of the paperback so that it would be primed and delivered to me immediately because I still hadn't seen a copy of the printed book because of all the printing delays and all of the shipping delays. And so this was the first thing I was able to see. So it was super cool just getting it and opening it up and showing the kids. And I think the first thing I did was I went right over here to the dedication, and I showed my wife. I called my boys downstairs and I said, all right, see, I wrote it to Adrian and our boys. I'm so grateful for the love and support, to my parents for helping me become the man I'm still becoming, which I felt was really important because this is a representation of a work in progress, and to my Aunt Paulette for getting me into the industry, which I talk about a lot of my family in the book, but I wouldn't even know this industry, financial advising, consulting, coaching, all the things that I love. I wouldn't even know it existed if she didn't lead me in this direction. Why was it so important to get it out into the world? I think it's a couple of things. One is practicing what I preach, right? Putting out something into the world also has always been accountability to me. It's always been not just believing in something, but owning it. Actually being in a place where you're practicing what you believe in and creating a rich life, living my legacy and owning the future. I mean, a legacy is all in your own head anyway, right? Every time you say the word legacy, it almost feels like it's too big and it's a bit presumptuous. And, and I'm always humbled when I think about it. But you know what? My legacy is something that was really important to me. If I died tomorrow, my sons know a bit of my story. My wife knows parts of my life that she didn't know before, and they're small, they're tidbits, because you could never fit all the length of the story into it. So it's these quick commercial bites of moments in your life, but how they all come together and create where you are now, I felt was really cool. And at my age and my stage of career, I wanted to get that out to the world. I also really felt like I had an epiphany. When I started my own company and we all went out on our own to create Freedom Street, it was uniquely inspiring to me because I started all over again. And I didn't know it could be this great. I didn't know that I believed in myself always, but I didn't really know how many unbelievable things we could accomplish. I had this long-term vision, but I've exceeded it every single month, every single year, and not from a success standpoint, but from a vision standpoint. And I think when you put that in the book and you share that with someone, if it impacts one person to change their life in a way that helps them grow professionally, personally, as a family person, I think it's amazing. And that's, those are all reasons why I did that.
Have you been surprised by people who've been coming up to you, and the book's only been out a few days at this point, who have felt that? Maybe they were in a place where they were feeling stuck, and hearing someone they know, and that person is you, moving to do something rather unheard of. Have you heard of people kind of feeling like they have a new path forward?
Yeah, you know what I think? I think we've been doing videos for so long and putting stuff out into the world, and we've been putting parts of this book out to the world for a long time, for the last several years now. And I'm amazed at the texts and emails and attaboys and shake of the hands where people are commenting and commending me on a message that just resonates with them. And it's not an ego thing. It's really a thing about, really impacting another human and giving somebody something that I've learned through failure, that I've learned through experience, so that they can actually go and do something on a larger scale. And so with the book, I'm getting similar things. I think certain people are reading parts of the story and feeling super connected. I have family members that, read the first 3 lines in the introduction and they call me immediately like, I don't have to read anything else. I love that. Thank you. And so, a cool story. One of my goddaughters, I have a couple. I have amazing goddaughters, but one of my goddaughters, Rosalie, calls me on FaceTime and tells me that she wants to bring the book to school to read. And, it's the cutest thing in the world because she wants to read it, but why she wants to read it is even better, because she wants to see if her name's in it. She thinks that she is so important in my world that her name has to be in this book. And so I told her, I said, your name's not in the book. So I don't want to disappoint you, but you're not in the book because you're my goddaughter, you're my family, you're in my heart. That's the most important thing. You don't have to be in the book. I didn't have to put your name in the book to matter to me. And I think that's a great lesson for everybody. Like, when you're doing the acknowledgments, it's a simple thing, but it's really uniquely uncomfortable because there's too many people to name. So you end up grouping everybody together, and it makes the person maybe feel less, if they even care, if they even pay attention. But to me, it was so important to make sure I didn't forget anyone. First impressions of seeing it delivered, we already kind of talked a little bit about what it felt like, but just seeing the finished version of this and understanding, what it looks like to hold something where it's all together. I've been reviewing PDFs and editing PDFs and looking on the computer, and this puts everything together. So some of the things that stood out to me, I mentioned earlier was the dedication, the organization. Then I get to see my forward by a business coach and a friend that I worked with and for years to help develop my practice into what it became. And I get to see a note from one of my business consultants and friends who's seen our business grow at a rate that was really, really great, and his important impact on it and what he had to say about vision and my vision. So, that was the first cool thing. And then just seeing the layout. So the book's laid out in a way that I think really gives people different ways to read this. You don't have to pick it up and read it story to story, line by line, front to back. There's parts where you can open this up and there are quotes in every chapter, things that matter to me, things that mean something. On the road to riches, money can buy you comfort, but it can't buy you peace. And it goes on to do other things, but Can't Buy Me Love by Paul McCartney and John Lennon. It talks about living a rich life, and then it organizes it with some pop-out boxes, which are individual stories of moments that I had. And then at the end of every chapter, there's questions. At the end of every part, there's 3 parts, there's a larger set of questions. And if somebody just opened this up and went through the questions, I can use these questions to help me reframe my days, to help me reframe my years, my goals, my objectives. And and then there were pictures that stood out to me. The last thing was, just seeing little things like the picture of my wife and I at the wine festival and feeling what that feels like to produce something really cool. Pages like this where it says passion and business and relationships and how they come together for great things. Simple lessons that if people execute and implement upon, what do you love doing? What do you really enjoy doing? And how can your passion and your work and your family and your life and your legacy all come together? That's what that's about. And it's a simple graphic that took a lot to get and put in here, but it's super cool. And so the sub-chapters each have different titles that we could build because we wanted to build them for videos. So that's kind of the initial thing that I looked at this about, even the recommended reading. Someone asked me the other day, they said, I gave them the 5 levels of John Maxwell's leadership, his kind of pyramid. And they said, I feel like I'm at a level 3 and I'm inching towards a level 4 leader. And I know this person really well. And I said, I want you to go to the back of the book where it says recommended reading. And I want you to read some of the books in there, because I think the thing that takes leaders to the next level is studying. Leading is only part of it. It's the study, it's the game film, it's understanding what other people think and why they think it. And I have it right here in the back of the book, some of my favorite books and what helped me get to where I'm at. So little geeky things that really stood out to me, and I felt like that was really something that was important to share.
It's interesting when you have a book and you have a network like you do, people they're curious. Right? Maybe they followed you through your videos. Maybe they have followed you through a wine festival. Maybe they went to school with you. And they're curious, right? So Why does this guy write a book? Like, what does he have to say? Or maybe they followed you and they've seen the success and they're like, I want to know what he's done to be able to achieve that. And this is the guy I went to high school with, or this is the guy we played on a soccer team together. And so I feel like it's really interesting that the things in your book are things that you've actually done. Like, you there are so many, quote, stars out there these days that have achieved 0 to 100 million in a minute or whatever. But really, these are actionable things that you really did. And it's not easy, but they're pretty simple. Like, these are simple concepts, I feel like, that you've touched on in this book.
Right.
Would you say that this is something that is repeatable? As you share it in this book, is it something that is attainable, achievable, repeatable for people who are reading it?
Yeah, you asked so many cool parts to that question. Just putting it out into the world and seeing friends I went to grade school, first, second, third grade with at Catholic school, comment, buy the book, send me messages that, hey, my sister's in media, let me help you get this out to the world. Hey, I can't wait to read this story. It is repeatable. And I think part of what I wanted to get this message out to is living a legacy and creating one that that you die with are two different things. And what I mean by that is I am only a part of who I want to be, but I'm sharing the story as it happens. And I think everybody in from a repeatable, scalable, can they write their own book? Like, people wait too long to share their story. And life is too short for that. And so I think to some extent, the cool part of that question to me is that I'm just an everyday person putting down what my story is, and it might impact people. It might be boring to others. It might be nowhere near the 0 to 100 million. That isn't me. So, I'm a regular guy who drives a regular truck, who has a really great regular family. And I think when you look at those things and you put them all together, it's just showing people that your story matters, whatever your story is. And there's parts of your story no one knows. But if they did, it might help them do something bigger, be something different, change a thing they're trying to change. And believe me, I'm doing all those same things as well. The intro is super cool because I feel like this was the ode to my family. And, you never know how blessed and lucky you are until, I'll read the first part. If you believe in reincarnation, pray that you come back as the firstborn grandson in an Italian Catholic family full of women. You are Simba, the chosen one, and you're spoiled rotten, not with toys, but with perfect amount of attention. And, thinking back, I can tell you where my head was at. It was, I would be nowhere without the village raising me. And the village was my mom and my dad, of course, as the root. But it was my grandmother who picked me up from the first day of daycare because she couldn't stand me being a block away, and brought me home into the house full of teenage girls, and my uncle, who was my godfather, and such a guiding light in my life. And when you look at the things I got to experience, the conversations I had, the strength of character around me, the family dynamic, the ability to be who you are and fail and have multiple people check you, or not fail and have your dad check you and them all come to your side and make him look like the evil guy when he was the one trying to create some level of discipline and not make me a spoiled brat. I ate better. My mouth waters every time I think of my grandmother. Her food was amazing. And I can't not think of what she produced and served us and what we had around that dinner table. I wasn't even allowed to sit at the main table, and it was still unbelievable. And so when you talk about an introduction to a book is also an introduction to your life, because I'm sharing stories of my life. I would be nowhere without the strong aunts that helped raise me. My mom as a leader, my dad as a strong man and disciplinarian, my uncles who were entrepreneurs. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know what that meant until they gave me jobs and let me work in their world. And I realized I could be more than a teacher or a cop. Not that there's anything wrong with being a teacher and a cop. I just only thought those two things existed. So, when I look at this intro, it really guides me into what made me who I am. And that shapes all these stories. All the love that was wrapped up in feeling like you were Simba is something that, even if I wasn't, even if that's not how they felt, that's how I felt. So they did a really great job.
When you were writing this book, who did you imagine would be getting the most out of it, would be seeing your lessons learned as lessons for them?
Yeah, I think you know me well, and so I think I'm always thinking 5 plays ahead. So my goal and objective was that not just financial advisors, even though the book was obviously written with financial advisors in mind and people in the financial community in mind, it was always meant to impact everybody, anybody in business, entrepreneurs, anybody that has their own business story, anyone that gets up every day and goes to work and loves what they do and gives the world the best version of themselves. It was bigger than just one thing. But obviously advisors are going to get a lot out of this story, I think. And, they'll probably see themselves in it, and maybe they'll get the least, and maybe I'll be completely wrong, and it will be everybody that's not the intended audience, because that's the beauty of putting something out in the world. You don't know what the end result's going to be. I'm not here to control it. I'm just here to put it out there and hope that it impacts people.
What do you hope that people get out of this? They read it, and what do you hope that they learn and take away?
I think when I was putting this together, I didn't even really realize the end result to that question, meaning that what I hope they get today is different than what I went into this when I built it. Because what I really hope people get in this is all of the imperfection of life, all of the things that happen to us, all of the story that we're living. It's the right story. It's the right order. It's the right process. It is what it is. And all I tried to show here were learned lessons and life lessons that are attributed to everything unpacking into this one story that is mine. And so, yes, it's been as a CEO of a financial advisor driven company. It's as serving as an individual advisor to clients. It's, organizing a wine festival. It's also a lot of other failures and not success and hiccups and frustrations. And, I think that's what I want people to see. The story is written the right way, even with trauma, even with bad things that have happened in our lives. It is what it is. So, Dr. Kevin Elko always says, so what, now what? And, that is a really big part of my mantra and thought process when we talk about this intro.